Unlike if somebody gives a whole class direct lecture, it's kind of hard for them to differentiate.
Dean and Kevin, and we are doing Module 16 for data assessment and analysis. The essential question is, how would you apply data and data analysis to ensure your continuous improvement plan is focused on closing the gaps? My school is K6, and we use several different data tools. The first one that we use 3 times a year is the NWEA MAP test. We do it for reading, language, and math. And then we use DIBELS and QPS. The QPS is a screener that is based on phonics. The other DIBELS is based on fluency and comprehension. And then we use that data every other week. We meet and talk about where kids need to be grouped during that MTSS time. And we focus on trying to bridge the gap between our, we call them red and yellow, our low and average students. And then also work on making sure that the high students are still showing growth as well.
How many different MTSS groups do you separate students into?
For reading, it can be up to 5.
Oh.
For math, it is 3. So we have classroom teacher, our math facilitator, or Title I math teacher, and then another para who's her support. And she usually takes the high kids, and then the classroom teacher usually takes the middle kids, and then the Title I teacher takes the low kids.
Is that per grade level or?
That is per grade level.
Okay, gotcha.
Actually, that's per classroom. Sorry.
Wow.
That's per classroom. So I get my 30-minute time, and the other 4th grade teacher gets her 30-minute time. So that's just my students split into 3 groups.
And do you share students between you and the other 4th grade teacher when you're doing the groups?
No. So I get my time, she gets her time. So it's kind of nice that way.
Okay. How do you split them into the 5 groups for reading?
For reading, it is based on, we use the DIBEL data and the QPS data. So kids that are still struggling with the phonics part, they're going to be specifically in a phonics group. And then we just differentiate, and that is with myself, the other 4th grade teacher, 3 paras, and then a reading facilitator. Is that right?
Okay.
Yeah. And sometimes that changes based on how many classroom teachers we have. We float between 2 and 3. Some grade levels have 2, some grade levels have 3, depending upon our numbers.
So for instance, in my reading class, again, we break it down kind of by levels like you're talking about. I may have 2 or 3 kids working individually on iReady. I may have a reading circle or a reading group with others, and then I may have an assignment for another one. How does that look for your groups, and what are some of the things that you're doing that maybe I could steal, as far as...
For kids that are struggling with fluency, they're specifically in a fluency program. Like, it's not set from the state, but it's just something that we pulled together, collected to really work on fluency skills. We use the Florida Center for Reading Research for a lot of our groups. We use that, and we don't have iReady reading, and we don't have, but we use the iReady math comprehension checks, and then we use the item analysis to group our kids. So that's like that's done weekly, because based on the assessments that we've given, that's kind of a quick snippet of how we do that for math. So some of them are working on like hands-on, using manipulatives to work on the math skill. Some of them are working at a higher level, and they'll have like maybe a 5th or 6th grade skill that they're working on. And usually that is just pulled through random resources that we collect. It's not very structured, and that is something that I feel is hard as a teacher, because we show growth for these kids, but we don't necessarily have that tool at hand to show exactly what we used. So that's hard. So teachers are pulling stuff from different places, and whereas if you're using iReady, we can see exactly what was given. So yeah, I think it's a hodgepodge, whatever you say that word. It's just a group of wherever they pulled their data from. Yeah, so I feel like it's kind of random, and that's where I struggle with, you know, some teachers have said, oh, this kid showed 4 points of growth or 10 points of growth, but they can't show you the tools that they used to get there. So,
Sure.
yeah, that's where I struggle.
Do you have a district adopted curriculum when you're separating the kids into these groups?
For math, it is iReady. Our curriculum for math is iReady.
Okay.
So, yes, that is used to differentiate, and we can actually put them on a lesson on iReady based on where they are. So, like if they're at a second grade level, I can go and put a second grade level questions in front of them on iReady. The biggest thing is I don't know if it's healthy for the amount of screen time that our kids have on iReady. Some of them are on there for 45 minutes to an hour a day. So because they're doing it during their core time because they're not at grade level. So I need help at knowing it. Should that kid be taken to our student intervention team because they are that low? You know what I mean? I struggle with knowing if that time on the screen is the screen time is what I struggle with. There's a lot of research that says they shouldn't be on the screen that long. So.
So if what I'm hearing is if you wanted an outcome, you're looking at something that is more structured, not only across your classroom, but also across maybe even your building, maybe even district, of stuff that statistically or data analysis works versus just throwing together stuff and then claiming, yeah, they went up stuff or they went up a certain amount of points, but not really sure what it was that.
Yeah, we use so many different things. We're not sure which one of those tools that we use actually help them grow or not grow. You know what I mean? So obviously, if they don't grow, what you're doing isn't working. So you try something different. But that's what I struggle with. Is I think we some of us are doing really good things, but we can't pinpoint what was really working because we're using so many different pieces to teach with. So
and to try to collect the data with.
Yeah, exactly.
At our school, we have, well, in our district, we have FastBridge, which is an assessment tool that's used for math and reading. And so you're able to go through, and it divides them up into the tier groups as well, because we do MTSS. And FastBridge, you have progress monitoring that can be done every other week. It can be done monthly, depending on where the kiddo's at. But then it also shows the data in forms of charts and what kind of growth they're meeting. And it will also list where things that they've mastered, things that they're struggling with, and so on. So it's a good way to figure out what they're lacking, what they understand, and see if they're actually making that growth that you're looking for.
Yeah, and I think the NWEA does a good job of showing us and getting the groups and showing us where we need to, where their gaps are. But I don't think we use that data as effectively as we should. And I think that's a big struggle. We know our kids that are in red. We know our kids that are approaching the standard. We know our kids that are proficient. But I don't think we're using it to instruct our students like we should be, because it does give us tools to use for instructing, but we're not really using it. So
as a school, do you all meet and talk about the data?
Yeah, we talk about our data every week, every Friday. The kids have Fun Friday and the parents take them, and then we meet as a grade level with our reading facilitator, math facilitator, and principal. So we are talking about the data, and we are, moving kids fluidly in the groups and making sure they are where they need to be. But I feel like students that are falling through the cracks or the ones that are like bubble kids that are right there, almost proficient or almost to the red, are being missed because we're so focused on the kids in the red. So That's where I struggle the most. Finding a tool that consistently shows student growth and um, I don't know. Uh, I don't. It doesn't seem to be a waste of our time because I think
Mm-hmm.
we do so many different tests. Some of them seem to be not very effective. Like the Dibbles, my personal opinion is we don't use that data the way we should be. None of us are trained in it really. We just
Mm-hmm.
use it as a tool to show fluency and comprehension, but we're not. And that is part of why our school is going to adopt a new ELA curriculum this year, is because our data is showing that our kids in reading are not growing. So,
Okay.
does anybody else have any other questions?
No, I really like the way that you stated that, and yeah, I think that's the biggest frustration as a teacher or even as a student sitting there doing something and you're not sure why we're doing it or what's being collected from it. Um, Especially if you've got a tool out there that is seems to be very effective and you're not using it as much as you should. So
Mm-hmm. And our math scores are great, and but I think iReady has really helped us focus in on um, those students that need support. Um, but I think, like you said, it's hard to see a purpose for some of the data tools that we're using if we're not really using it to drive instruction. So thank you guys for your questions and your help, and I'll let Christine get started. Thanks. I'll stop recording here.